and equity?
Yes, actually, that is the next equity update.
Well,
Sorry, I skipped your,
I'll stay up.
we're still in the superintendent's report.
Sorry. Normally it's not this long. I apologize. So. Okay, all right. Thank you. So as you are aware, we've been working with equity and it's particularly looking at prohibition of harassment, intimidation, bullying, and also discrimination. So some of the feedback, we've been working with Dr. Alan Sutton in the training portion, but he also has brought back some good feedback. I've also met with a couple other community members talking about what are some things that we can initially start and would be helpful. And one of those things was clarifying this complex navigation of bullying, harassment, intimidation, and discrimination. They're not as easy as the one over here and one's on the other. They can cross over. And so the reporting guides were one of the things that came out of these discussions and these listening sessions was, this would be helpful if we could clarify some things. So Dr. Alan Sutton took a run at it. I took a run at it. We put it together. We've had our legal counsel look over it. And so we've come up, this is a draft, it's not live yet, but I wanted to give you a preview of what we put together. So Dr. Alan Sutton helped us work on this introduction and the district's duty and care and responsibilities. I won't read those all, but it talks about our commitment to ensuring that discriminatory and/or bullying, harassment, intimidation around race, religion, culture in accordance with policies. We've linked our policies so people don't have to go and look and say, what policy was that? Where is it? So you can see that we've embedded links within these simple bullet points to help be a little bit clearer to our community and to our staff and to our students. If you can continue that. So one of the other things we want to take a look at is how to make it, where do you start? And so this is our attempt to say, here's step one, and here are the main pieces to this. Here's step two, step three, step four. If there's an appeal, it would be this next step, and then appeal to the board. And we just highlight what are the big talking points that occur in step one, step two, step three. Because if you pull up this policy, it's literally pages and pages and pages of narrative. Not easy to navigate, and so that was really good feedback that we got from the community. So we did the same thing with the discriminant, because they're a little bit different processes. So with a discrimination complaint, excuse me, we have fewer steps, but again, step one, here's the big pieces to that. Here's what happens in step two, step three, and then it's not a step four, but if there was a step four and you wanted to appeal, there would be an appeal process. Each of these have an appeal process at the very end, if that's how far it goes. We also put in printable versions of the complaint flow charts. So this is a be all online, but if somebody wanted to print it off, they could print that off. Because both flow charts are a little bit different. And then we've also put in the form. Thank you, Courtney. I was looking for the form. So one of the things that we did with the form, and Dr. Alan Sutton helped us on this, we didn't want to have two forms necessarily, but one form. And so you can submit one form for harassment, intimidation, bullying, and discrimination. It's just kind of a simplified checklist, has all the things that he had recommended from some samples that we took a look at. And so I think this will be very helpful, because sometimes you may think it's just harassment, intimidation, bullying, but there might be a discrimination component. And that starts a whole nother process. So, so we tried to streamline it, clarify it, make it a little bit easier for folks to navigate this process. Again, this is our first draft of this. It's not live yet, but we wanted to show it to the board first to see if you had any questions. And then this is, of course, it's never ending. We have other things that we're working on. But this was one that we were able to hear back from, get some feedback, and make some changes.
Are there any questions for Dr. Maxson? Yeah, please,
Will
Greg.
will we get a copy of this so we can actually read it?
Oh, yeah,
That's- okay.
we can do that, so, yeah.
And on that point, Craig, usually a lot of these like draft materials will be emailed out after they're introduced, just so that we kind of have context for what we're looking for.
Yeah, it's not as easy to read. I don't expect you to read all the bullet points. It's not
Yeah.
very friendly on this. Along with this, we also have created a checklist for administrators, both on harassment, intimidation, bullying, and on discrimination. So there's different things that you want to look at. So there's a one-page checklist for the administrators, as well as a manual. Those are not on here because they're administrative checklists and manuals. So those are not on here. But again, this would be part of our educational equity. We'll put that on our website. We'll give you a chance to look it over and see if you have any questions.
Are there any other questions? I'd like to just add as well, just for the new board members, this is coming out of discussions that we've had with a number of different community organizations saying that information is difficult to find or navigate. And it's also difficult to know how to report things. And so part of our goals that we set at our retreat was we wanted to make this all more accessible. And so I think that's the context for the.
Yeah. So we're hoping this helps. And so again, we're taking a look at it. I think it's much easier to look at this flow chart than it is to actually pull up the whole policy. So. But thank you very much.
Thank
That
you.
concludes my report.
Okay, and I just wanted to say thanks to the audience for hanging in there with us. We had a lot of quite dry material, but I'm looking forward to the next bit. I really am. So I'd like to begin by asking Pam Brandner to come up to the Sunnyside Elementary Chair.
Okay, we're gonna let.
Oh, we're switching.
Yeah.
Okay,
the Students.
no worries. I gotta adjust it.
Sorry.
All right, now I'd like to ask Dr. Cameron Grove, come up for Lincoln Middle School. Okay.
Thank you, Pam Brantner, thank you so much. And we just always want to say thanks for inviting us. And I took this opportunity because we were supposed to come the last time, we had to cancel, is that I just wanted to show off a bunch of our kids tonight and what they do. We talk about middle school all the time, what they're doing things, whether it's before school, after school, and so you'll get a chance to see all of that tonight. We'll have a couple brief presentations, one first by Mimi Dismore, who's going to be talking about Magic the Gathering Club. So Mimi, why don't you go ahead and come up?
I know, we were keeping them super late, past their bedtime. Okay, so I'm Mimi Dismore. I'm Mimi Dismore. I'm the advisor for Magic the Gathering. If you've never heard of it, it is a super cool strategy card game and one of our official clubs at Lincoln Middle School. And I have two wonderful representatives from our club here tonight. Do you want to introduce yourself and kind of talk about Magic?
I'm Parker, and Magic is overall my favorite card game. And yeah,
Sweet. What do you like about the club?
well, it's basically I get to hang out with all my friends until 4.
Nice. Awesome. All right, Braden.
My name is Braden and I like Magic the Gathering Club because it's something new to me and I kind of like it. So, because I can meet new people who have similar interests to me so that I can bond with them easier.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, so it's a pretty relaxed club. We have a lot of donations from community members, so kids who can't, it's a little bit of an expensive card game, but we've had enough donations that kids who can't afford their own decks can still come play and build their own and have some ownership, which is super exciting. We have one more kiddo who couldn't be here tonight. Her name's Abby, and she wrote a little letter that she asked if I could share with you, so I'm gonna do that. And she says, when I first came to middle school, I was in need of a few new friends. The old friends I had were now more interested in their friends from other schools, so I was left with only a few good friends. When I first walked into Magic the Gathering, I could tell that the people here were perfect friends. I grabbed a deck and started playing. I loved the game and I started to make friends with the members. If it wasn't for Magic Club, I wouldn't have made the same deep connections with my new friends, and some of them wouldn't have become friends with me at all. Magic was also a place where I feel comfortable and safe. The community of Magic players at LMS is small and friendly and inclusive. Ms. Dismore is great at giving advice and teaching Magic. I swear I didn't bribe her. And without her and the other Magic players, I would have never found the joy and community that is Magic the Gathering. I'm thankful for LMS having a Magic club. Middle school can be hard, but with my new friends by my side, 6th and 7th grade have been some of the best years of my life. So I just want to give a shout out. Thank you so much for staying out here.
Oh, yeah, you got questions. Here we go.
Sorry, I misled you.
For the students,
Yeah.
how often are you able to meet in the club?
Pretty much every week.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to make it because of some family stuff, but usually you can come if you're able to. It's 3 to 4 and yeah, every Thursday.
Great, thank you.
Thank y'all very much. I'm a Magic player, so I like this.
Okay.
All right, I think-
Real good job.
And next is Ms. Howe to talk about girls bowling.
Hello. So I'm Emma Haug and I am our Lincoln Middle School girls bowling coach. We bowl from November to the end of December, so our season is wrapping up actually next week. And throughout the course of bowling, we work on a variety of different skills, such as the basics of being able to hold the ball correctly, lane procedure, all the safety things, moving into individuals, such as being able to aim, and just focusing on our stance and working all that. Beyond that, we also look at the idea of communication and being able to problem solve, being able to see, oh, we put the ball down the lane. How are we able to adapt and change into that? And it's just a really fun experience. And I also have a few awesome bowlers here tonight to just kind of share what they think about bowling. So go for it.
I'm Miriam and I really like bowling a lot because you get to go do a sport, but it's fun and you get to hang out with friends. And I always like that. Miss Howard, every time you get like a good score, you always congratulates us and celebrates with us. So yeah.
Okay, Alana.
I'm Alana, and the thing I'd like to say about girls bowling is it's very fun because when you get there, you can pick and choose your teams, sit down, and then it's your turn to play, and it's just really fun. And when you don't know what to do or like you're getting stuck or something, she comes up and she helps you. And I'll just say that I've improved a lot from when I started.
Great, Bailey.
Hi, my name is Bailey. I really like bowling because I can spend time with my friends after school, and it takes me away from my electronics, and I can just like have fun doing something I love.
All right, yeah. Are there any questions?
How many young ladies are in girls bowl?
So roughly we have around 50 bowlers. And so because we have that extent, we bowl on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and I take 25 to Zippos each day. So we only get a bowl once a week, but it's still a lot of fun. So yeah.
I was wondering, how do you guys get to the bowling center?
We take a bus from Lincoln.
Yeah, we take the bus from Lincoln all the way to Zippos. So it's a fun ride. Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
And next we have Taylor Roberts and one of her students to talk about the Developmental Learning Center and how that actually coordinates with Culinary Club. A little bit with Ms. Moore.
All right. Hi, everybody. I am Taylor Roberts. I teach in the Developmental Learning Center at Lincoln Middle School. Today, I brought one of my students. Want to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Brianne Wiltring. And before we begin, I just want to give out a few thanks to some people that I like. The first thank I would like to give is, well, Mr. Crow for being such a very good principal with his introduction. The second thank I would like to give is, well, Miss Moore for being a good culinary club teacher and all that crap. Anyways. I'm sorry.
No, you're
That was way too much. Apologize. I apologize for the sailor mouth. Yes, all right. As I was saying, I also would like to give another thanks to my first principal, Miss Brenner, or Miss B for short, for being such a supportive person in my first year of going to school. And I also want to give a thanks to Miss Taylor for helping me with this whole thing. If it weren't for her, none of this would have been happening. And the greatest and biggest thank I would like to give is my mom right there. And now, it's time we present our Lincoln Middle School sorry.
Developmental Learning Center.
Developmental, I can't even speak, I'm sorry. Okay, let's start over. And now it is time we present our developmental learning system or learning center. Cooking. So connecting with our students is like connecting with family members. We get to do lots of many things, such as clubs, most namely Culinary Club and Pokemon Club. We also have lots of student interests and lots of requests to make many good cooking items. And we also learned some creative lessons along the way, like never put milk in a hot pan.
We did learn that one a few weeks ago.
That was a disaster.
One of Maria's biggest interests is cooking, so we've got to do a lot of creative lessons around that. And it all started when Mrs. Johnny Stevens was in one day doing math with our class, and Bree asked her,
"Can we make pancakes? I found a recipe." Can we make pancakes? I found a recipe from Culinary Club.
So that was the beginning of that. And then now we've got some pictures and videos to show of what we do in our classroom and our cooking lessons once a month. So
we can, first up, we have teamwork. Miss Taylor and I, or Miss Roberts, we like to do many things to help our students learn and succeed. Like, we're always seeking to learn. We're always interested in, learning new ways to cook and also help each other. We follow this request. Students are also guided in planning and preparing.
Yep, so we have to plan and prep. We have to email the people that are attending. We have to come up with our list of materials and ingredients that we need. We have to make sure we're all prepared before we start, right?
And yes, that is really helpful. Thank you, Miss Roberts.
Absolutely.
Or Miss Taylor, short. We also, and the first thing we made was pancakes back in October. So here are a few pictures of us making these. So here, that's me and Aiden making the pancakes, measuring, stirring, and all that type of stuff.
So we can incorporate some math into our cooking lessons.
And this picture shows the recipe that I handwrite myself and
I finished
a
product.
little secret. We added chocolate chips to our pancakes.
And then this month, we got to make pumpkin muffins, and we had some more of our classmates participate with us, which was really awesome. So on the next slide, we've got some pictures of that. We've got a bigger group, more things for everyone to do, right?
Yeah, we have me, Aiden, Ramsey, and someone else in the background, maybe Miss Johnny or something. We were just getting things set up, and I was checking to make sure everyone. So I would keep my eye.
Absolutely.
And my name is Brienne. I'm your host, and welcome. And today we are making pumpkin muffins. And you're wondering, what are we? Well, I'm glad you asked. They're a tasty treat, they're just fit for the holiday season. You can even share them on Thanksgiving or something like that. Come on, we have cinnamon. So you see, my voice isn't really good with the camera. Overall, I took a big role for introducing this.
She got to lead our cooking segment this month, which was really awesome.
And we made Elvis famous.
the teacher, and this is Bree, and where are we at?
We are about to make
Are we in a school? What school are we?
Lincoln Elementary, Lincoln Middle School, home to the world famous Spartans. Yeah, so we just did that and well, I just wanted to make the whole thing famous. So here are some even more shots of us. We put the muffins in muffin tins and first, and this is Aiden opening the can of pumpkin. That's me watching the muffins rise, and that's us with the final product. And this is John being such a goof.
The muffins.
Yes, I got it. I wasn't. The one.
Good job.
So John and Bree are our two students that go to culinary club. And we hear about it all the time. They're big fans, clearly.
So before we head to the next slide, huge disclaimer, one of our teachers, who is a Jewish teacher, Mr. Nicholas, is highly allergic to seafood. So be sure to keep him away from seafood at all costs. Because once he ended up in the hospital.
All right.
So there's us all together, and we are now planning to, well, try to make cupcakes and cookies at the same time. Any questions? Now, Mr. Rowe will take the helm.
Thank you. And really what we're trying to show off is there's so many things going on. I know Donna Moore tonight, they had culinary club tonight, and she did not get a chance to cut her bread. And of course, Miss Moore brought her bread to her so she could take it home tonight. So just wanted to say thank you and understand that all these different clubs and activities that are going on, they appreciate it so much. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Now it's sunset. Okay, now I would like to invite Pam Brady.
We can't follow that. I know. Shoot, we should have went before that.
Bree, you rocked it, girl.
I know.
You did. All right, I don't know, we're all gonna hear, I'll scoot over this way. What?
Yeah.
She did, she's great. All right, so tonight we wanted to talk to you about our diversity, equity, and belonging committee that we have at Sunnyside. This is a volunteer committee that we have representation from every grade level on there, plus Core Plus, our counselor, our special education teacher, and our goal is to make sure that we're doing right by all students. And so we're gonna walk through what we've done, what we're planning to do, and what the future looks like for all of us. So our first. Okay, oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, so the first thing is that we wanted to think about hearing student voices. And so we, for the last few years, have done some art submissions for Art for Social Change through WSU. We've done a lot of different things from whole school wide to just kindergarten, taking on some of that. And so what we did this year is at the start of school, we did something called a culture box. And so every single student in our, in the class. Every single
staff member.
That's it, every person in our building. So we have our custodians, we have our cooks, every single person got a box. And their job was to bring things in that was that meant something special to them. So it shared about their family, it shared about their culture. So some of us brought our boxes in to share, but our boxes are not nearly as cool as the students. They have all kinds of trinkets in there. And then the classroom teachers work together to talk about what they have in their boxes. What's important to you? And then they could have that conversation. And then we put all of our culture boxes, with a lot of culture boxes, in our front foyer. So they went from not quite from they started at the floor and not all the way to the ceiling, but they covered our windows and everything. And so when you walked in, you were immersed in every single culture within our building. And it was wonderful to see. Yeah.
So we sent a letter home. First, we're going to thank Wilma, because Wilma got us the
Yes.
grant to get all the boxes. But we sent a letter home inviting.
Didn't know so-and-so like this, or I had no idea that so-and-so was from Ghana. And they were able to make these connections. And that's what we're really trying to do with our committee, is make sure that kids understand that they belong. And when there's somebody else in your community that shares a similarity, then you suddenly have that connection with them. So that's part of what we do. And then another part of what we do, Liz, will you talk a little bit about?
So our committee is really, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thanks. So our committee is also making sure that teachers feel supported with lessons that are correlated with civic standards and history standards. So at the beginning of the year, we made sure there was time during staff meetings for grade levels to get together and look at those civic standards and unpack and understand what they meant. So when third grade is looking at their civic standards, we can compare to fourth grade and see that it's evolving. And then ask, do we have the resources? Do we need to reach out? Does our team come up with anything, so that we know we're doing these social studies standards and not just saving them for the end of the year after testing, because they are so pertinent, and it helps with that belonging belief as well.
And then the last part of what our committee is working on is professional development for our teachers. So part of our school improvement plan, teachers were saying that they felt like they needed more help implementing diversity, equity, and belonging in the classroom. And so we have 6, we call them mini book studies. They're actually just articles that we're all offering to our staff to read. After school, we're going to get together once a month from January through June. And so if anybody in here is interested in joining too, we can send out those articles. Maybe we can work out a Zoom option. But they range from anything from what other schools in the Palouse area are doing regarding diversity, equity, and belonging, to nationwide pushes for more civics education and how to have civil discourse in schools and what our students need to engage in civil discourse. So that's in a nutshell what we're doing in our committee.
We've also reached out to other resources in the community. Last year, we had Dr. Gaither came in and spoke with us. And then last week, we also had Dr. Alan Sutton come in. And we really want him back, because it was picture day. We all had to take a picture, but we didn't get to talk to him as long as we wanted to. So we really want him to come back.
Do you guys have any questions?
Are there any questions from the board?
I just wanted to add.
Go please.
With the culture boxes, it was also cool because they had them set up during PTO sponsored activities and the book fair and conferences. So families also had a chance to come in, and the students were very excited to show off their boxes to their families too. So that was really cool.
And parents were like, where's my kid's culture box? And I'm like, okay, I know second grades are, it was like finding them. So, yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you all very much for coming in and sharing. Okay, next I'd like to Jill Whittle for the CTE program and Perkins grant approval.
Good evening.
Oh, yes.
Perfect. It's the version from today. I added in pictures today, so I was hoping.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I do got a matter of business. I was going to ask for a recess so I could attend the orchestra, but given the agenda, everybody wants to keep proceeding. I mean, if it has to be excused. Is it all right if I excuse myself to attend just a second of the orchestra during your presentation?
Yeah. You go do the family thing. That's priority.
Yeah, I've been.
Yeah.
I've been getting the update as it comes along, so I may step out. and go,
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry about that.
No,
Feel free to.
Totally
join
good.
us whenever you're able.
Yeah.
We have a quorum, so it's not gonna interrupt.
Right, yeah, it's just, I want.
No.
I would be stepping out.
Totally get it. Yes, 100% please do.
And now, please, if you would like.
Thank you. I'm Jill Bickelhawk. I'm the CTE director for Pullman School District. First, I want to say thank you to our new board members. This is kind of a fun full circle moment for me because Craig was the CTE director when I was hired in the district 14 years ago. So it's kind of fun to be able to have you here, and it feels like a special moment. So I'm just gonna kind of give you a little update about kind of what's going on in CTE right now, where we're headed, and talk a little bit about our Perkins for this year. So, since we have new people, I wanted to kind of go back and kind of talk a little bit about what CTE is and some of the things that our programs do. So all of our CTE programs, career technical education, so that includes all of the, so let me go down the hallway, family and consumer science, the manufacturing and all the wood shop and metals, all the media, skilled and technical sciences, all the ag sciences, business and marketing, STEM and STEM. There we go, our STEM engineering program at both the high school and the middle school. So all of our courses, they help to include not only core academic standards, but we also are very closely aligned with industry standards, both in terms of the material and content that we give our students, but also in terms of equipment and standards that we have for our classrooms, kind of on a baseline level. We integrate 21st century skills, which are also known as employability skills, soft skills, kind of those skills that are required to work in any environment, to work with other people. We also all of our teachers maintain intercurricular career and student organizations. So that would be our FFA, DECA, FCCLA, Skills USA. And those are both a part of our curriculum in the classroom. And all of our teachers also work with those students outside of school with competitions and leadership programs and all those different things. All of our program areas are reapproved every 5 years. So this year we have our business and marketing courses that are up for reapproval. I have to give a shout out to my teachers who I didn't even ask for stuff and have already been getting updated frameworks and information to have that ready to go for January. About, I believe, 3 years ago, they added in CTE as a viable graduation pathway. So now students can kind of relate those pathways to their future career goals and use those to help fulfill those graduation pathways. We currently, and I'll talk more about pathways in a second here, as well as dual credit. We currently offer 8 courses where students can receive dual credit. But I always love about our dual credit in CTE is that it's absolutely free to our students. And so it's a great opportunity if they are thinking that post-secondary education is an option that they want to look into. It's a great way to get those credits and get a head start with that. And yeah, one of our main goals is just to prepare our students to graduate with options, whether it be giving them a leg up in terms of knowledge entering the workforce and some of those 21st century skills, or in terms of having certifications so that they have kind of a step up when it comes to getting a job right out of high school, or whether it be helping them kind of pursue their post-secondary interests. So I just had to give a shout out to our CTSOs because we're all right in the kind of midst of it right now, gearing up for and going through our regional competitions in preparation for state competitions. I have some of our DECA kids over here. They just competed Monday or Tuesday this week. They took 39 students to their regional competition and 30 of them qualified for state, with a lot of them getting top 3 designations. So, and I specifically have to shout out Melissa Mayer on that because she has built that program from a pretty much where they had no students competing when she got here, and now to have 39 students to take to regionals, that's pretty amazing.
Our FFA kids, FFA always runs a little different in their competitions because they have them throughout the year, whereas our other ones have very regional, state, nationals. So they're always busy and going off to different competitions. They got to go to a competition in Montana, and they were able to kind of use that as an opportunity to also stop and visit at a couple different colleges and kind of make it an overall kind of career and college tour there. Our FCCLA kids, they just got done this weekend. They were helping with a activity at the Gladys Community Center. They volunteered and helped some of our community members put on a whole Christmas thing for kids. They're getting ready for their regional competition in January. I believe we're taking 14 kids to that. Skills USA also has their regionals in January. And I know right now they have lots of kids participating, especially in the wood section of it, in the construction part. And they're looking at how do we pare down, because you can only have 5 kids on a team. So how do we decide which 5 kids get to go? So yeah, really great things happening. Our students are pretty amazing. So that's what this always reminds me of. Couple new things to Pullman CTE this year. We added in our second course in our STEM engineering pathway. So it's digital electronics that Sam Anderson is teaching this year. And he's using the Project Lead the Way curriculum and working closely with SEL to kind of help with that pathway and that industry connection. We have in our family and consumer science program, we added in early childhood education this year. So they, one of the things, Altera Bogo is teaching that, and she's one of the curriculums that she's using is the real hair babies. So those just started going out. We've had kids around the school with crying babies in class, so that's fun for everyone. But they're also getting ready to, second semester here, partner up with Head Start, and they'll have kids over in Head Start kind of getting that experience and helping to create lesson plans and teach lessons to kids. And then down at Lincoln Middle School, Aubrey Anderson joined us, and she took over for Ed Davis. And again, have to give her a shout out because she took over that position just a few days before school started, and she really jumped in with both feet and to some shoes that are pretty hard to fill. So she's been doing a great job of that. This is just our annual kind of stats update. So kind of just going through these a little bit, we've got almost 75%, a little over 40% of our students at PHS and LMS that are currently enrolled in CTE courses. And a lot of those kids, especially at the high school, are in multiple CTE courses. We have a lot of crossover between our programs. When we look at kind of the special populations, the 504s, ELL, SPED, low income, we're very much consistent with where the district is. So we're definitely working to bring those kids in and help them be successful in our programs as well, especially with that alternative graduation pathway. I think that that's been a big draw. And then in terms of gender and racial demographics, again, we're really kind of on track with where we are in the district. I'll talk a little bit later about kind of those non-traditional courses that we're looking to bring in as well too, for students. And then we've got our completers there. We can see after kind of, obviously we took a little dive in COVID times, but we're building that back up. So completers are considered students who have taken at least 2 courses within a program area. So these are, these are our current courses that we're offering at Lincoln Middle School. No real big changes down there. Our standards. And then at Pullman High School, it's a big list, but we have all of our different program areas. The only one on this list that we're not currently offering is the sports medicine. You'll notice the courses that have an asterisk, those are ones that we currently have articulated for dual credit. And then the ones with a little caret, those are our courses that we currently have cross-credited with core academic classes within the high school that students can use to help fulfill those graduation requirements as well. So a little bit more about the graduation pathways and dual credit. That's kind of been a focus area for us. Currently, since they added in the CTE graduation pathway, we've really just been utilizing within our program areas. For example, like if you take foods and nutrition and culinary arts, that's a logical pathway. Or, you know, you can look at the business and marketing courses and choose a couple from there and make that a pathway. And one thing that we've been working on in our department is to add in more pathways that cross over between program areas. So we're starting off by looking at pathways that are already approved at other schools because the approval process is a little bit easier for those. So we're starting with those ones. Currently, we have 15 that we're looking at adding. So those would be things like looking at catering and event planning, where if you take a culinary class and a project management leadership class, that's a logical pathway and skills that you would need if you were going to go into catering and event planning. Or the same for fashion marketing. If you're taking a marketing and entrepreneurship course and a fashion design course, it's two different program areas, but it's giving you a great background for that career. So yeah, we just have been talking about those and getting those through with our teachers. Now we're taking that to our general advisory committee for approval, and then we're going to start that application process for those. And then from there, we're going to look at, okay, what are the next things that we think are logical pathways within our programs that we want to do new applications for. And then on the dual credit side of things, in the past, we've only worked with Walla Walla Community College. And so this year, Walla Walla Community College has been redoing some of their stuff, which has led to kind of a couple more opportunities in some areas and a couple less opportunities in others. But we really want to make sure that we're increasing those dual credit opportunities, especially when we look at those pathways. Ideally, when we have these pathways, what we'd like to do within 3 years is for each of those pathways, ensure that at least one class within that pathway is a dual credit course. So no matter where you're coming out, you're having some credits there that can help you if you decide to go on a post-secondary level. After we accomplish that, and we're on to the next goal, we want to look at certifications we can do within each of those pathways as well, because I think it's a great opportunity to say, okay, what do you want to be when you grow up? And then here's a great pathway within that realm. And when you complete our CTE pathway, you'll come out with either great knowledge if you just end up being a hobbyist, with certification, if you come out of it and decide, hey, I want to go straight into getting a job and this is giving a leg up, or if you decide I want to continue on with this and go post-secondary, you have some credits to help you with that as well. So we do the comprehensive local needs assessment, which is a big part of our Perkins application now. And that really helps us to kind of analyze the equity within our programs and the connection to the industry standards within our programs, making sure that our programs are open and available to all of our students, non-traditional special populations, all of our students. And that we have programs that are setting them up for success when they leave high school. So for the CLNA, we're part of the Spokane Consortium of Career and Technical Education. I always just say SCCTE, but they work with us for our regional comprehensive local needs assessment, and then we take that from there after we work on that as a group to a local level, and that's after we went through the local stuff. That's what last spring, you might remember, came to you, and we went over some of the CLNA stuff. And kind of what our group looked at from there and came up with from there, our stakeholders. So also I do have to say the Spokane Consortium has been absolutely amazing just as coming into this CTE director position. They've been an invaluable resource. They are fantastic. So I just have to say they're amazing. But we have those 5 different elements that we really focus on. And so we look at all of the data and all that kind of stuff and get information from teachers, information from students, and kind of compile all of that to look at what are our gaps that we currently have and how do we want to improve those. So we really, for this year, kind of looked at mostly element 1, 2, and 4. You can see the priority ratings. I was really glad where we don't have any ones, that it's significant gaps and we don't have any plans to address it. You know, I don't think there's an area where we could say, yes, it is absolutely perfect. It is a 4, there are no gaps. But I think, you know, we have things in place and we're working towards these plans. But we really want to focus on making sure kids are aware of the opportunities that we're trying to provide, because that's been a big piece. So in helping that kind of inform our Perkins plan for this year, next one, we kind of have a few different things that we're going to work on. So you can see this year our Perkins amount is a lot higher, okay, about $10,000, a little bit more than that higher. That's a one-time increase. They have told us multiple times, this is 1 year, do not plan on having this extra money in the future. In the past, we have always kind of been on a rotation for how we use our Perkins money within our different program areas. That's not something that we fully want to move away from, because it does give teachers and programs a very unique opportunity every few years to have a little bit extra money, especially when we look at trying to keep things at that industry standard, that they can use a chunk of money to really make improvements, those sorts of things. So yeah, that's, like I said, that's not something we want to move away from, because we still want to make sure we have those opportunities for improvement. But we also want to make sure that we're using that CLNA to use that money how it can best help our students as well. So this year we have, which I'll talk about in a second here, a couple other things we want to do, but we also have a big chunk of that on the rotation is our woods and metal shop. And so they'll be looking at what are some industry appropriate equipment that we either need to upgrade, maintain, or get new. So kind of our whole Perkins plan this year. One of the big things we want to do is, if you go straight up the giant stairs, on the corner there's a display case, and we want to turn that into like a CTE display case. So we're wanting to get like a TV in there so we can do videos, show pictures, kind of a live look. What's not live look, we don't video in our classes, but something where our teachers can continually be putting stuff that's shown on there. Another advantage of that is, like I said, kind of one of our problems is our students don't always know the opportunities that they have. So being able to do some of that targeted advertising specific times of the year and showing, hey, here's this pathway and here's the classes you could take and here's the cool things you get from going through this pathway. And kind of here's, if you're looking for cross-crediting opportunities, here's some things, and intermix that with also, here's fun videos and pictures of the cool ways that we're showing you these things, because I'd say it's rare that a kid who hasn't taken one of our classes pops in on a class for one reason or another and doesn't go, oh, this is cool, what are you guys doing? In our culinary class today, it was lab day, so we have lab day always brings in lots of kids. Oh, what are you doing in here? What are you making? I should take this. Yeah, you should. So I think we're all of our teachers are pretty excited about having that opportunity to kind of share more of what we're doing. We also looked at the data showed that we're a little bit low in the number of IRCs that we're offering, industry recognized credentials. So we decided that Perkins would be a really great use, especially this year when we have a little bit extra, to say, hey, teachers, if there's new certifications that you want to try out and see if they work in your class, this is a great year to try, and we'll pay for those through Perkins, so that if it's something that you try out this year and you say, this just wasn't the certification that fits quite right with us. It wasn't necessarily coming out of program budgets. And it's a great way to kind of test those out. And then hopefully we can find some that are more meaningful that we can continue to offer year over year. And then, like I said, equipment for the metals and wood shop kind of in there. So some of the kind of big challenges in CTE right now. Continuing to add options for students with a stable population. For a while, we're growing at the high school, and we kind of have this bubble in here right now, but then we're looking at kind of stabling off. So being able to say, hey, there's all these different things you can do based on your different interests, and continuing to add in options and more things for students without taking away from our current programs. Emphasizing the viable and diverse options, post-high school and CTE at all levels. I don't know if it's just because I go to so many CTE things, I feel like CTE is getting it kind of got a bad rap for a while there of it's for the kids who can't cut it. But that's not true at all. We know that a kid who wants to leave high school and go into welding and go be an underwater welder can make just as much, if not more, than someone who decides, hey, I want to go to college after this. So letting kids know that being not college bound is not a bad thing. There are fantastic options other than college as well, but also that college is a great option too. And then for our teachers especially, it's just, there's a lot in CTE. It's a lot. There's a lot of extra requirements. And, it's a lot to keep up with for our teachers. Program approvals, frameworks, updating frameworks every year, getting this program approvals every 5 years. When you're in CTE, you have your regular teaching certificate, you have your CTE certificate, sometimes multiple, and along with those, getting the professional development needed to maintain those certifications. Taking care of program advisory requirements as well as general advisory requirements, maintaining our CTSOs inside and outside of our classrooms, work-based learning, which has been a real kind of push from the state to make sure that we're getting more of that connection to industry within our classrooms, as well as making sure that we're offering those credentials, like I talked about, that it will be meaningful to the industry, and maintaining industry standards in both our curriculum and equipment. We're teachers, we're not in the industry every day, and so making sure we have those partnerships that can help inform, hey, this is what you should be making sure kids know, this is the equipment that kids should be using. And then looking at where we kind of want to go from here, ensuring our CTE courses and pathways are emphasized to all students and that those align also with our high school and beyond plans. We want to make sure that the kids are finding meaningful experiences in our classes and seeing how those skills connect to their future plans. I heard someone say at a conference last year, all students are career students. Like, even if they are planning to go to college after high school, they're still a career student. So things like those 21st century skills and credentials and whatnot, no matter if kids are still going on to post-secondary education, those are still really meaningful experiences. Promote options at all levels after completing a CTE pathway. Again, looking at, hey, through this program, you can go straight into the industry, you can go to a community or technical school, you can go to post-secondary, a college and university, or beyond. And we will help set you up for all of those options. Increase community and business connections. It's been one really good to work on. Actually, no. I did put some in my pocket. I just got these cool new cards that I'm really excited about. So I brought some to hand out. So we have a new CTE business partnership interest form. So it's more cards printed out so I could start just like giving them around the community to help get businesses. Don't take them and pass it down. So I gotta hopefully start getting more contacts with businesses in our community and help our teachers find ways that they can come in. So if you have anyone and you would like more cards, I would be happy to get those to you. So you can give them to everyone you know. Let's see, where's that? Oh, increase opportunities for dual credit, work-based learning and IRCs. I talked about that, one of our huge focuses. And then at the base of it's our kids. Help our kids graduate with options and dream beyond their reality. You know, we have Pullman, you know, we've got a lot of things that we want to prepare kids for within our community, because we know we have a lot of kids who stay here, but we also want to make sure that our kids know things that are outside of our community and are prepared if they decide to leave Pullman as well. And any questions?
Great, go ahead.
How are teacher certifications going? You've got a lot of teachers in this. Do they have regular CT certification or are they all
Let's see, right now, we have our Woods teacher certified for Woods and he's on a conditional for the metals piece. Our career choices teacher is working, he's working through a program in process to get a full certification. I believe, at the middle school, Aubrey, who we just hired, is on a conditional. I think that's all of our conditions.
everybody's working through?
Yeah, yeah.
Very good.
Working on.
Well, the one thing, the coordination between the academics and the CTE has opportunities for kids at every level.
Yes.
So from the very basic to the very highest.
Yes.
And the kids who went on to become engineers, but had a drafting class and had a welding class in their high school program, said that they drew on those experiences a lot through their engineering program. So,
Nice.
I mean, it's not, don't put a lid on CTE because it goes everywhere.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's one particular student who said, you know, he didn't take calculus in high school because he had 3 more opportunities to take calculus. He didn't have another calculus to take a metal shop class.
Yeah.
And so that kind of deeper thinking of how your future works is one of the things CTE can offer.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we added last year, just in our hallways, just as a visual for kids to kind of see that that's every level. So if you make it up the big stairs, wander through there and you can see some of our career trees on the walls. And those kind of show like, you know, we're giving you the roots to these things. And then, you know, you have a branch that goes to all of the careers you could do from this program, just straight out of high school, all the careers you could do from this program, with a technical or community college, AA, and all the careers you could do from this program with a college degree or beyond. Yeah. So, yeah, that's definitely an area we're trying to focus and let kids know. Again, we're like for all levels, we're preparing you for whatever you decide to do. So it's great to hear though that our people.
Well, I definitely have noticed the efforts to kind of bridge the gap between middle school and high school too, like trying to extend those programs and bring them into alignment so that we're kind of starting earlier, you know, because I think that's really where it's at, is like you get them in there early where there's time to kind of, you know, explore stuff versus like they're in sophomore year and like, what do I do?
Yeah.
But no, I really appreciate the efforts to continue to bridge those gaps and kind of bring in the middle school students, you know, before they get.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we're planning to do. Last year we had an elective fair. And so when we had that going on for our high schoolers, we also brought up all of the 8th graders so they could come see the elective fair, come through CTE. And I have to say, I know that John Willie works with the kids on their high school meal plans a lot down there. And he does a really great job of saying, hey, look at all the opportunities that you have at the high school in all the different areas. So, yeah.
Are there any other questions? Aaron and then Matt.
On the partnerships, you know, I think this is great. Are all your partners local or have you expanded out?
I think the furthest is Spokane, but not not too far beyond that. I know we have a couple of teachers who, through different conferences and whatnot, have met people kind of further away from that and are looking to get maybe some Zoom opportunities and guest speakers that way too. To kind of highlight, especially when we're looking at like highlighting non-traditional folks in the field. Being able to bring in some of those from outside over Zoom.
And one more question, and I'm sorry since I missed this, if it was addressed, but on the growth, what are you seeing in the growth in the program? As far as, you know, number of new students coming in each year, are we seeing, you know, basically our classes are staying the same, or are we getting an increase? I'm kind of thinking long-term on, you know, are we gonna have to start thinking about expanding and adding additional classes and, you know, because there's so much interest, or are we kind of like, yeah, we got 300 students in the program, that's kind of the level for.
I would say this is my third year as CT director, and I believe we've kind of been at the high school, at least right around that 75% of students being enrolled in CTE. That's one of the things that's was talking about is kind of a challenge, looking at how to add programs and options and classes when we have the same amount of students and not take away from other places. So
That's a balance.
yes, very much so. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, I was just going to say thank you for your passion for growing this program and improving it. It's amazing. And I think the students in the district are really good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I definitely have become quite the CTE nerd. That's nothing. So,
We can definitely tell you enjoy it. I love these things.
thank you. Thank
It
you.
makes me excited.
I appreciate that a lot. So,
Are there any other questions? Okay, well, thank you very much.
thank you so much. Have a good night.
Okay, and next I'd like to invite Joe Gordon up for the Transportation Services Report.
Jill, do you remember how appalled you were by the condition of your classroom when we first hired you?
Yeah.
And how excited you were when you got a new
Remember
space?
when I told you I loved you?
I do remember that. I remember you saying, this is when she's moving into her new space. I don't know if this is appropriate, Joe, but I love you. Yeah. She didn't like mice, and when we hired her away from,
Imagine that.
yeah.
Teacher not liking
I
fun.
grew up in Waitsburg. You had mice all over the place.
Yeah.
She was involved, so, and your mom was very diligently helping you clean the space.
Yes. I remember.
All right, I'll make this really quick because it's already 8:15 and you're still on the reports part. This is an annual update on transportation. Are you moving along? So I'm just gonna talk about operations, staffing, and talk about the vehicle fleet next. Since we have some new people here, just a quick overview. We look at transporting with yellow school buses, our fleet, K-5 students who attend elementary that live either outside the 1 mile walk zone or do not have a safe pathway if they live inside that one mile walk zone. For example, Reader Copper Basin, up until this year, even though that was just up the hill from Kamiak, there was no sidewalks, it was not a safe walk zone, so we've provided transportation. Once the sidewalks were completed, we no longer provided transportation. So that's how we do the K-5 in-town transportation. In addition to that, we do K-12 transportation in rural areas. Rural routes are not really cut and dry. We have some spots that are inside the city limits, but they're still considered a part of a rural route. And then we work with the city of Pullman to do K-12 transportation, 6-12 transportation. I reported on that last week. With part of their youth fare free program, as well as providing the yellow school bus expresses, which are predominantly school to school. We are running currently 15 routes, which is one less from last year. We took a look at 3 routes that went kind of east and south of Pullman, and we were able to condense it down to 2 routes, largely because of some students who had moved, no longer living there. So that was an upgrade in efficiency. We have 4 dedicated routes for elementary schools, 4 dedicated routes for students with special needs. We run a Head Start / developmental preschool route, and then we have 6 what I call hybrid or rural route buses. So this is a bus that either is predominantly rural route or is going to take some elementary kids home on its way out of town. Next slide. Continuing operations, we're looking at every day. Our buses are running about 850 miles. In the morning, we're transporting, this is just yellow school buses, about 400 students. In the afternoon, about 482. And then we support activities. A huge piece, as you heard tonight, a huge piece is us supporting those activities with transportation. So just September alone was 43 field trips or activities, athletic trips. Many of those, such as LMS cross country, PHS cross country, PHS varsity football, would have been multiple buses for that trip. So that's a critical piece of support that sometimes becomes difficult to meet that need. Because highest priority at the end of each day is getting kids home, not necessarily taking kids to an event, but getting kids home is the highest priority. And then last year, our total mileage for the fleet was 231,000 miles. That's a lot of miles. So looking at staffing, our current staffing is a transportation supervisor, supervisor, mechanic, 13 drivers, 1 sub. Everybody on that list has their CDL and can drive if needed. I have my CDL and can drive if needed, which is seemingly every day. In addition, our maintenance supervisor has the CDL and can help as well. So I looked at my notes from last year. At this time, I told you that all of our regular routes were staffed. We started the year of all of our regular routes were staffed. We are now short 2 regular route drivers. Sub pool continues to be a challenge. We continue to recruit and train. We've had limited success with that. We are with new hires into the transportation department, or excuse me, new hires into maintenance. We are cross-training them. So the new job description for the new hires includes must get your CDL. 2 reasons for that. A, we have a piece of equipment in that department that requires a Class B CDL license to operate one of our standing trucks. But secondly, I need those people to help drive a bus when necessary. It'll be infrequent, but when we need it, we need it. So that's a new hiring requirement for people new into that department. Driver shortage is sometimes going to limit our availability to transport for field trips and activities and athletics. We had to cancel 3 events this fall because of short drivers. And if this continues, we're going to be looking at, like a lot of districts are starting to have to do, looking at a rolling cancellation of regular bus routes. Gig Harbor, Bob sent me an article, Gig Harbor is looking at coming out of winter break with that a rolling blackout of regular routes. About 25% of the routes 25% on a daily basis will not be run. We have been lucky so far not to have to do that. But if this trend continues and people, we had 1 driver move away, we had 1 driver, unfortunately, get in a motorcycle accident, out of service for a long time. Another driver just is leaving it at the end of next week to take a full-time job. If this trend continues and we can't backfill that, we're going to be in the same boat as a lot of other districts. And then finally, talking about the age of the fleet. Next slide, please. Our current fleet is 26 buses, 9 auxiliary vehicles. Those are vans, Suburban, so on, so forth. Those of you who are not new to the school board have heard me be a broken record talking about the age of the fleet. And I know the numbers are small, you may not be able to see them, but we've been able to make some great strides in the last 6 years, 7 years, upgrading the age of the fleet. A big part of that was the support from the board and the district to back in 1819 and 1920 with some help from the state buy new buses for in 1819, 5 and 1920 through a grant. Basically, I called it a buy 3, get 1 free deal. That was kind of what it was. That helped a lot, but we got to keep on that trend. In an ideal world, ideally, once a bus is off the depreciation schedule from the state, we get rid of it and we replace it so that we start recouping that money immediately. We're getting close to that point. It'd be nice for us to get to that point someday. Because several years ago, the age of the fleet was a real huge concern. And we got in that position because I looked at the numbers back between, I think, 04 and 08, a 5-year period, the district only bought, 6-year period, the district only bought 4 buses. It might have looked really good on the books, but in terms of the long-term impact on the fleet, it had some serious impact. Some questions I get is, we're looking, so inflation, you hear that a lot. This year, we've got 2 buses ordered. They're about $180,000 a piece. Back in 1920, not very long ago, that same bus was $130,000. So that inflation has really hit that industry. We have 2 grants in the works, one with the US EPA for an electric school bus, another one with Washington Department of Ecology. I get the question a lot, why not all electric fleet? 2 reasons. One is cost. An electric school bus is more than twice the cost of conventional. And the second one is range. With an electric bus, which we have one, the range is about 80 miles. It won't even get a group to Spokane, let alone get them home. Any questions? Yes.
In regards to the use air free passes.
Yes.
So the students need to renew those in January. Is that
Correct. They're going to be delivered to the schools on Friday. And we're going to make this mad media blitz to make sure they swing by and pick one. Yeah.
That answers my question.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Courtney.
Next, I'd like to invite up Dr. Roberta Kramer for the assessment results for 2023 report. Just for the new board member, this is quite a few reports this evening, so it's not usually this thick. Yeah, one meeting in December, so thumbs up. Please, Dr. Kramer, go ahead.
So for folks who have been on the board, we spent quite a bit of time at the July, August, I don't know, sometimes retreat on student assessment results. And that's typically when we take our deepest dive. Tonight, it's definitely not nearly as steep. So what I've provided for you, and this information is all available on the OSPI website, and this is a snapshot from each school's report card. So you can see related to the ELA standards at Franklin Elementary School, 75% of the students that took that in grades 3, 4, and 5 were proficient. In mathematics, 75.7, and in science, 83.6. And science would have only been for a 5th grade, frankly. At Jefferson, 51.4% of the students met the ELA standards, 44.3% met the math standards, and 53.2% met the science standard. Kamiak, 60.3% met the ELA standard, 59.3% met the math standard, and that's in science, 66.7%. Sunnyside, 68.1% in both ELA and math, and in science, 65%. At the middle school, and all middle schoolers take this Barter Balanced Assessment. And then only 8th graders take the science assessment. In ELA, 63.8%, followed by math at 56.7%, and at science, 63.9%. And I need to remind you, science is required for us to administer. It is not a graduation requirement. And then at Pullman High School, 82.2% meet the ELA standards, 45% met the mathematics standard, and 66.2% met the science standard. And that science assessment is given at 11th grade. And again, it's not required for graduation. It is required that we administer the assessment. It's part of our state's assessment plan. And there would be, it's problematic if we don't meet our participation numbers, and that's at least 70%. And we meet that in all of our areas. Overall, as a district, 66.7% of our students met the ELA standards, 56.6% met the math standard, and 66.1% met the science standard. When we compare that to the state of Washington, 50.7% met the ELA standard. And 39.1% met the math standard and 42.9% met the science standard. So we are above the state average. We typically are. So, and you can see that right here. That's it? Questions?
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Stern. And our last report this evening is Dr. Maxwell with the Human Resources report.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Alex, start.
So Courtney's going to pull up that report and I'll go over that quickly. If you can make that a little bit bigger. There you go. Thank you very much. So again, this is our human resource dashboard. And so we get this program report each year. Just so you know, where you see the green triangle going up or the red triangle going down, this is compared to last year's same report. For instance, if you look and you see administrators up by 1, the reason it's up by 1 is last year we didn't fill the special education director position. So that one was, so last year, if you look back, it would say 16. So we didn't really increase, we just filled the position that we weren't able to fill last year. So you can see mental health therapists, we were able to go up there, food service, we were down, custodians, we were down 2, paraeducator, and so on. Also, some of these are down because remember the ESSER money went away. So we had hired a lot more staff with the ESSER money. That ESSER money is now gone. Thus, you're going to see in more areas, you're going to see a decrease. We did retain a lot of our ESSER staff. And so those numbers reflect some stability like in technology or not necessarily technology, but certificate, which right there. Also, if you look at active substitutes, that's always an area that we're trying to advertise for. You heard about bus drivers, you can see classified, you can see custodians. We don't have a lot of substitutes. You can see certificated, we have 72. That includes 36 on emergency certificates. That's a lot. I'll say even with 72 substitutes, some days like today, high school alone was short 2 teachers. So the administrators are teaching today. And I will also say it's not like we have 72 available every day. You have some folks that only want a sub in elementary or high school or vice versa. You have some that can only do 1 day a week. You have some that can only do mornings versus afternoons. So again, that's probably the most we've had, but on certain days, it's still not enough. Move that up. You can see that we have 222 certificated staff, 152 classified. Looking at our diversity, you can kind of see that we've gone up in Black or African American, we've gone down in Hispanic, up in 2 or more races. This is all information that we report out. And then just to give you a visual of our diversity, we're always looking for diverse candidates, but in the field of education, there are not a lot, especially in Eastern Washington. Collective bargaining, we have PEA opens again in 2025, building secretaries in 2026, paraeducators open again in 2025, and right now we are bargaining with the ESP, which includes district office personnel. So we're still bargaining, and I think the next bargaining date is the 19th of December. Recruitment and hiring, again, we've had 590 applications submitted between January 2023 and probably as far as December 31st, well, that's probably inaccurate. You can see our applications are down slightly from last year. number of open positions, was up 4. So hiring's become really year-round now. It's just not, in the old days, it used to be hired in spring and that was it. We hire all year round. Again, sometimes we've had questions in the past, well, what about our applicants and what are their demographics? And so you can kind of see here, not Hispanic versus Hispanic is 36, and they don't have to respond. So it's sometimes, so we had 75 that didn't indicate any. Volunteers, this is number of volunteers. So you can see in 2014, 2015, we had about 477 registered volunteers. That really went up, and then good old pandemic hit and went to 0 basically. 2023 or 2022, 23, we had 626, big jump. 23, 24. Part of that is now we do, they can fill out the applications good for 2 years, not 1. So I think that's helped increase the number of volunteers that we have. And so a big increase there. We're not quite up to where we were in 2019, but we're pretty close. And then lastly, support and success. So we have new teacher training, TPAP, best mentor program. CEL is social emotional learning training. All kinds of training that go into helping our folks. We also have diversity training. And then we have special education, professional learning communities, positive behavior, teachers on special assignments. That's what TOSA stands for, teacher on special assignment. And so those folks are out in the buildings really helping to support not only our new teachers, but our experienced teachers as well. And with that, that's the human resource dashboard update for this year.
Go ahead.
I have 2 questions. My first one was on your first slide where it showed the total number of employees in each area. And in general, there's a few sections where we have fewer employees.
Yep.
And you mentioned we also lost ESSER funds.
Correct.
We didn't actually have to let anybody go. That was just a natural attrition, right?
There's natural attrition or they are on 1-year contracts.
Okay. And then my second question was on the volunteer application. I didn't realize that it was for 2 years now. Does that include the background check only has to be done every 2 years as well?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're trying to make it a little bit easier, so. And also it's a lot for Dagny to process. Since we have a human resource department of 1.5 people. So.
Lisa, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a question on that to follow up. It said the people can still be registered as volunteers for an extra year. Is there a way to compare that to pre-pandemic levels in a different metric, like volunteer hours or something? Or is there a way to check whether we're doing the same level of volunteers?
Yeah, well, last year we looked at collecting hours, and what's interesting is we have kiosks in all the buildings, and that does collect hours. But we had the difference in who registered, who counted hours. Some counted hours for events. Some didn't count hours for events, so when we tried to pull up hours, it was not equal as far as trying to compare hours. So, but it's one of the things we are looking at, but we have a program that as, you know, a typical volunteer comes in, it'll register the hours, but, and some schools made practicum teachers log in, some schools didn't, so we didn't have consistency. So when you look at hours, it wasn't very accurate. And so, so we chose to use numbers because it's pretty easy to count, but the hours range quite a bit in schools, but we are seeing more hours.
That's a good question.
But that's a great question. But yeah, we tried that last year. It turned out to be a bigger project than we thought.
Well, and just to follow up on that, so I actually volunteer several hours a week at Sunnyside, but I register as a visitor because I have a tag, then it saves the sticker. And so I'm not even sure how you would calculate that.
Yeah, but we have a rough estimate of hours with our login system, but it's not completely accurate. So, and we don't do that on event minutes where they come because we have a line out the door. So, any other questions?
Thank you, Dr. Maxwell.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll move on to the public comment section. The public comment section of the agenda provides an opportunity for individuals or members of a group to address the board on educational issues. If you intend to provide public comment this evening, you may register to speak using the sign-in sheet located near the boardroom entrance. To ensure fairness and provide for an orderly meeting, we respectfully require that individuals speak only once for a maximum of 3 minutes and may not transfer their speaking time to others. Please be attentive as your name will be called in the order it is listed in the sign-in sheet. To assist board members in reviewing consideration of your comments, we appreciate your providing a written copy of your remarks along with your email or mailing address on the sign-in sheet. When addressing the board, please approach the microphone and state your name before presenting your comments. The board will listen and may offer clarification if needed. However, the board will not engage in a discussion at this time. Depending on the nature of the topic, the board may decide to schedule it as a discussion item for a future meeting. We kindly request that all comments remain civil and respectful, and we remind you to consider the impact of your words and know that you bear personal responsibility for their content. We caution you to avoid certain statements that may infringe upon the rights of others under various laws, including those protecting privacy or prohibiting defamation. Providing public comment demonstrates your feeling of engagement and participation in the decision-making process in our community, and we thank you in advance for your public comment. And it looks like we have 3 folks signed up, and I'd like to ask Beth Bacon to come up and give public comment.
Beth, when you're ready, let me know and I'll do the time.
We don't have to do our address anymore?
Nope.
Okay, I'm ready. Hey, I'm Beth Picklin, and I'm here today to advocate for the fair compensation for our special education paraprofessionals. These dedicated individuals are the backbone of our special education program, yet their average salary remains at a mere $27,475. During a recent meeting, it was mentioned that there was a surplus of $330,000. I saw it as like 2 million, but 330,000 in our special education budget. I hope I'm wrong, but that seems right. I propose utilizing some of this surplus to provide an average raise of $5,600 for our special education paraprofessionals. This adjustment isn't just about salaries, it's about job satisfaction. And as you stated previously, you're struggling to find qualified paraprofessionals on the salary that you're offering. This may help. I am aware that despite having highly qualified applicants over the summer for these positions, the district decided to relist the opening instead of accepting any of the willing qualified applicants. One of them had a CDL. To compare with another group, our paraprofessionals have seen an average annual increase of 5.7%, or around $1,500 over the last 4 years, while our administrative staff district-wide has seen an annual increase of 8.11%, or $10,373.42 per year, with an average salary of around $127,000 in the same period. This discrepancy raises questions about the equity among crucial staff and for students, especially when considering the direct positive impacts these professionals have on our most vulnerable student population. Investing in special education paraprofessionals acknowledges both the tireless efforts and fortifies the support system for our students so desperately need. I urge the board to carefully consider this proposal and unite in advocating for our students and their dedicated advocates. As I brought up last time I spoke, paraprofessionals are not the only group that is underpaid in our district. The mental health professionals in our district are ridiculously underpaid. This is especially clear when they are compared with other employees with doctorate level of education and similar years of experience. The highest paid employee with a doctorate in our districts makes more than 4 times the salary allocated for our mental health counselor in the district, despite having equivalent years of experience in her field. Please close this gap. Of additional note, Superintendent Maxwell frequently highlights that our district spends more on special education than is provided, yet the surplus remains untapped. It's crucial to ensure, these funds are properly directed to educate children receiving special services under IDEA. Additionally, the last budget presentation left some uncertainty about the handling of the rollovers or utilization of that $1.9 million in ESSER funds. Can the board please clarify? Let me know if I got that wrong. I do not think that the community should support an additional levy when the district does not seem to be managing the tax dollars they currently receive in an appropriate manner. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. And you can do your comments. Thanks. And next, I'd like to invite up Matt Heisler. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Heisler. I guess we don't need the address. Full disclosure, I'm an employee of the district and currently in bargaining with the ESP unit. Starting September 1st, all district administrators had a pay increase of 5.2% this year. This is 0.5% higher than other groups in the district received. Our estimated total cost of the district for this was $118,000, of which we estimate about half, or $59,000, went to the central admin staff. At the same time, September 1st, the group of employees unionizing with the ESP unit were given 0%. Since then, we've gone to the bargaining table 5 times and have 4 more sessions scheduled. In that time, the district has offered a total increase of 4.7% and step increases of 0.25%. For comparison, if nothing had been done, the COLA this year was 4.7% and steps would have been 3%. The total for this offer is 1.1%. The real costs we estimate are as follows. If nothing had happened, no union efforts were made, the 10 employees in the unit would have cost the district $38,000 just for the 4.7%. The current proposal from the district would cost $45,000, a difference of $7,000 split between 10 people. Meanwhile, the $59,000 was given to administrators in the building. In fairness, the unit has asked for quite a bit. We've also come down quite a bit. The current ask is for the same 5.2% that administrators were given, as well as increasing steps to 5% from 3% currently. We estimate that this would cost the district $85,000 in total, which is still less than administrators across the district received. The difference between our ask and the district's current offer is $40,000. On top of this, for bargaining, the district has hired an outside, in his words, overpaid union busting lawyer to run negotiations. We estimate this lawyer will cost about $30,000 by the time everything is all said and done. The district is also paying this lawyer, to our knowledge, based on a 40-year-old letter of agreement that we have not been provided and apparently cannot be found. Aside from my status as a bargaining employee, I'm also a taxpayer, and to me, this kind of seems like a waste of district and therefore taxpayer money when we already pay administrators such high salaries. Despite that, many of the district administrators have not participated in this process, leaving it all up to the attorney, who seems to be given effectively a blank check to sit and drag negotiations out as long as possible. If the district had not hired the attorney and used that money instead to come to the table with us, the actual difference we estimate at this point would be about 10,000 instead of about 40. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Okay, and then next I'd like to call up Natalie Aaron.
Hi. Yes.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Natalie Heron. I am here tonight to express my concerns about the recent changes in the school bus transportation service for 23-24 academic year. Over the past few years, the school bus has been an essential and reliable mode of transportation for students, including my own children. However, I have observed a significant increase in the time it takes for the bus to reach my side of town. Previously, the bus ride took a maximum of 10 to 15 minutes, but the commute has extended to an hour and 20 minutes twice a day. The extended travel time not only affects the students' overall well-being, but also impacts their ability to engage in club activities or maintain a healthy balance between academics and personal life. As a parent, we advocate for equity in education and transportation for all of our children. All students should have access to safe and reliable transportation, regardless of their location and economic background. It is crucial that we work together to address these pressing concerns and ensure that our children can travel to and from school in a secure and supportive environment. I am puzzled as to why there was no collaboration between the school district and the city to develop a comprehensive before and after school bus program. For the first 2 months of this school year, my son experienced a challenging commute, first from the high school to Sunnyside Elementary, involving a yellow bus ride, followed by a hike across the park, then crossing Wawawe Road and a field. Unfortunately, weather condition eventually made this 15 minutes journey impractical. He stepped on a snake. In an attempt to find an alternative, he switched to the white buses, but an incident involving the police occurred, leading him to feel unsafe and prompting him to discontinue the use of school transportation altogether. One of the primary issues with the current transportation system is a lack of supervision on the buses, leading to an environment where undesirable behavior can occur. The safety and well-being of our children should be a top priority, and the current situation raises serious concern about their security during transportation while missing out on educational opportunity for teaching our teens or preteens civic manners on school buses. Thank you for your dedication to our community and commitment to providing a positive and enriching educational experience for all our students. And please think of our children who were just suddenly sent onto public transportation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all that we have signed up for public comment. Thank you all very much for coming in and sharing your thoughts with us. And definitely for providing written comments, because I like talking and doing everything, so it's nice to have something to look at afterwards to kind of review. So thank you all very much. And we are going to move to our consent agenda. To expedite business at a board meeting, the board approved the use of a consent agenda, which includes items considered to be routine in nature. Any item which appears on the consent agenda may be removed from the agenda by a member of the board and voted on separately. The remaining items will be voted on by a single motion. Would anyone like to remove anything from the consent agenda this evening? Okay, seeing no suggestions, I would entertain a motion.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, it is moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda this evening. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, and the consent agenda is approved. Next, I will do something that is a little out of ordinary. As you all know, we have a piece of property in Johnson that the school district is looking to sell. And so part of that process is a public hearing on the proposed sale of the property. I will now read from the script that I was given, so I'm not going to ask any questions about this document. But I think that this is exactly what we should be saying. So the next item on the agenda is a public hearing on the proposed sale of surplus real property. The board will now recess into a public hearing to listen to public comment on the proposed sale of surplus real property. No action will be taken during the public hearing. We will then resume the regular board meeting. Per board policy 1410, the rules governing a public hearing are as follows. People who have signed the register will be allowed up to 5 minutes to speak on the topic. The president may permit one speaker to yield their time to another speaker. No one speaker may speak a second time until all others on the register have been allowed to speak. The president may cause opposing view to alternate. The president may adjust the rules to facilitate the discussion. Speakers will use the microphone when addressing the board, and speakers will identify themselves. So at this time, I will invite any member of the public to the podium to comment on the proposed sale of surplus real property.
Right, does anyone, would you like to speak or?
I just had some questions to ask you guys about the property.
Well, yeah, please come up. We'll answer what we can. It's not customary to answer, but we'll try our best.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
I'm Emily. I'm a reporter with the Moscow Pullman Daily News. My name's Emily Pierce, if you want my full name. I was just kind of curious, like, what this property is, like, over by Johnston. Like, how do you guys, like, I guess, get it in the first place?
I think that's a good clarification point, Bob. Would you mind telling the narrative for us?
I'd be happy to. So back when Johnson had its own school district in 1946, that district dissolved and that was incorporated either into Pullman and or Colton School District. The old Johnson School, which is a one building of 2.77 acres, was given to the Pullman School District. And so as part of that, that then is, it's never been used for schools since 1946. It was used by Grange to conduct their activities, but even the Grange has not been using it in a number of years. And so it is of no educational value or use. And so we've also been paying insurance on it. And so probably not a good use of our funding. So we've taken the opportunity to do a lot of research and history into the ownership, because it's back in 1946, things weren't necessarily as clear in the documents. So we've gone through that process with legal counsel, and we finally have all the ducks in a row, so to speak, and able to decide, we're going to decide what they would like to do with the property.
And you guys like haven't decided to sell it yet. That's still like a decision you guys are wanting to make down the road.
They declared it surplus, and now we're having a discussion for anyone that, the next step would be to ask the board to consider the sale.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Well, thanks for the question. So for the second time, I would like to invite any member of the public to the podium to comment on the proposed sale of surplus real property. For the third time, I would like to invite any member of the public to the podium to comment on the proposed sale of surplus property. Hearing none anymore, thank you very much for coming in. I will now close the public hearing for the proposed sale of surplus real property, and we will now reconvene back to our regular open public board meeting. The next item on the agenda is action items. Oh, wow. I knew this a lot clearer than it was. Okay, action items have previously been discussed by the board, and the board will now take action by motion. Given that some board members were not here during the last presentations, please feel free to ask as many questions as you would like about tonight's action. First, we will begin with Dr. Maxwell, who is presenting on the style guide for Pullman School District policies and procedures.
So thank you very much. So I was not at the previous meeting when this was gone over, but again, the style guide was created at the suggestion of former board member Elsa Montrotolo, to really provide some clarity and some guidelines and some consistency to our board policies. And it's kind of been a hodgepodge over the years. And so have we been going through and cleaning up policies, updating policies. It was suggested and that we have some consistency in our style guide. I have not received any questions since this was last presented, but I'll be happy to answer any questions.
And on the note, I just think it's important to have a style guide, like for the consistency. I think part of this helps navigate our policies better because everything is located in the same, just kind of being, all over the place, and you've got ones and I's and Roman numerals and just everything, bullets. And so I think it's going to be very helpful to help people navigate what is otherwise a pretty complex situation. So are there any questions on the action item this evening?
In doing the reading and reviewing of it, I mean, it seems mostly centered around the serial call which, I think is an appropriate use of language, but this will stick with the Chicago style guide and not go with the WASDA style. So we'll just have to change some of those pieces.
Yeah, mostly for punctuation and formatting, I think.
Right.
But yeah, other than the WASDA, the language itself will be consistent. It's just
absolutely just the language guide would be the Chicago style. Yeah. Okay.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I move approval of the style guide for Pullman School District policies and procedures.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the style guide for Pullman School District policies and procedures. Are there any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, it is unanimous. Next, I'd like to invite Dr. Maxwell to present on policy 4000, the public information program. Number changed to 1001.
Thank you very much. Sorry for the long background, but anytime we change the numbers, sometimes it can be confusing. So WASDA decided to renumber its policy and procedure from 4000 to 4001. So that was per the July 2023 Wasp Valley Legal News. So the revisions reflect House Bill 1230. Legislation requires school districts to post prominent link on the district website homepage, information Department of Health, as well as making information accessible to via district social media channels. The annual district report language has been removed since these reports are presented and other reports periodically throughout the school year. Since the policy was last presented, we've received clarification that Washington State Department of Health will provide that link for districts to include on their websites to the required information. We also heard from them that they probably won't have this till the spring sometime. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
Are there any questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, actually, I would entertain a motion. Get out of the way.
I move approval of policy 4000 public information program number change to 4000.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the number change of policy 4000 to number 4001. Are there any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It is approved. That is all of our action items this evening, unless I'm looking at the syllabus incorrect.
Nope, that's correct.
Okay, we will move on to discussion items. Discussion items presented to the board for discussion. If they need action, they will be brought back at the next meeting. And we will begin with Dr. Maxwell again, with the board president and vice president.
So, thank you very much. So, Pullman School Board Directors shall conduct an annual organizational meeting. In election years, the annual organization meeting will be conducted during the first regular board meeting after the election has been certified when newly elected board members are seated, which they are. I will review the non-election. At the annual organizational meeting, the board will elect from among its members a chair/president, we call president and a vice president to serve 2-year terms on a 2-year rotation as specified in 1210P. Newly appointed board members will not be eligible to serve as an officer unless a majority of the board is present. Susan Lee, so background history gets a little wonky. Susan Lee deferred her remaining 2-year presidency in 2023 to Nathan Roberts. Nathan Roberts served as board president from 2023 and deferred the remaining year of his term as vice president to Amanda Tanner. Amanda Tanner served as vice president for 2023. For 2024-2025, Nathan Roberts is scheduled to serve as board president and Amanda Tanner is scheduled to serve as board vice president per the rotation specified in 1210.
And just to elaborate on 1210P, it basically lists all of us and when you are up for board president. So as new people come on, we kind of put them at the back so that they can kind of get their feet underneath them and it kind of flows in. So if you ever have any questions on where all of it's coming from, it's in 1210P. So are there any questions on the item? Yes.
Well, and also just to elaborate on that, I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at it or not, but it's just a rotation of District 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this will be nothing personal. And if it changes, if we get a new board member for one reason or another, they're appointed or they're elected in, and they're new and it would be their number, then we would just have to circulate. But at this time, it will be 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. So.
It's actually clarification. Are there any questions?
Are you saying that the schedule will be changing?
No.
Okay, no.
So I think what Amanda was trying to say is, let's say one of you in the rotation couldn't be on the board anymore, move or whatever, and that person that would be appointed, filling in that direct number slot.
Yeah.
But the appointment wouldn't serve as like, so say she gets appointed her position, that person's not going to be chair next year because they just got appointed. So that would be like, and then the next person who was in would just kind of slide. That's actually what happened to me and Susan. Susan decided to resign and left a year of hers. And so I was next on the thing and just kind of goes in, right? And this is at our first meeting in January. So there's some time to ask questions if you come up with them. Or, just have other further clarifying questions.
Just on the background, why was it chosen to rotate instead of elect somebody?
That's the way it's been more since I was here, and probably since probably for decades, I would guess.
So being board president is quite a bit more work than just being board director. And so I think that it was my understanding, it was just kind of to share the load, basically, and kind of give everybody the opportunity to be in that position, but also know when it's coming and not, somebody being president over and over and over again. So it's just kind of is an easy way to diversify the responsibilities.
I will say, it gives us, each one of us a term, which I like. Because some boards out there, you'll notice there's been one president for 25 years. And so, I mean, people are allowed to defer their term, but it gives them the opportunity, which I think is important. And really, it is such a learning curve from the beginning that it's something that, a newer person is probably not the greatest thing, right? But like, if the whole board is like, forget that, then we change our policies. But the reason it's this way is because it's the policy that we had when we got it.
And it's worked.
And it's worked so far, so that, we only really change things and to change things.
And I'll just add, many boards do a rotation policy similar to this to experience on the board, because if someone new came in and they were president, that might be a little bit of a tough lift, when they don't even have a basics of being a foundation of the school board, and that'd be a heavy lift.
And we did spend quite a bit of time looking over this policy about 3 years ago.
Well, 3 years ago.
And kind of just cleaned it up a little bit and make sure it still makes sense.
Good question.
Are there any other questions? Okay, we will move on to the emergency school closure waiver application presented by Dr. Maxwell.
Yeah, as you all experienced, the Vista gas incident. So we did have to end up closing school one day. I have gone ahead and worked on filling out the waiver request. What is interesting is that it requires local education agency approval, so I'm bringing this to you probably very prematurely, because on the webinar from the state superintendent, he said, don't even bother sending in waivers till spring. We're not even gonna look at them, so that's mostly in case if there's other things like ice storms or severe snowstorms. I don't think we're gonna qualify unless we get a lot of other days canceled, but I think it's goodwill to try to, because this really was an emergency. And so,
Completely out of our hands.
out of our hands. So, I'm just bringing this to you for your consideration. So happy to discuss anything with this. We'll bring it back for action, but if we do miss more days, I'll probably bring a revised one back in the spring, late spring.
Yeah.
So we just submit one ultimately.
That's what they prefer.
Okay.
That's what we were told on the webinar. So,
Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to policy 50/50 contracts, presented by Dr. Maxwell.
we have a lot today. So this is a brand new essential policy from WASA. So last legislative session, school principals, and school administrators submitted quite a few different bills to the legislature. And this is one that didn't pass. So this is highlighted in the July 2023. There's a good article on there. If you haven't read that, I highly recommend reading that. So basically, this would provide the option for school boards to decide to issue employment contracts. This legislation reserves the right of the board to offer a principal a 2 or 3 year contract. If the principal meets certain criteria outlined in Senate Bill 5175. So it also, if you pull that up for me. Thank you. So you can see that we currently have the 50/50. The main changes are the addition of continuing contracts. It talks about certificated staff, besides the superintendent, retiree hires, and leave replacements. We do not receive timely notice and now we roll up the right to contracts renewed for another term. Provisional employees, those are typically certificated with 3 or less years. Retiree hires and leave replacements. That does not fall under this. So this is really talking about clarifying your continuing contracts, your provisional contracts. And the basic addition here is principal contracts. And you can see it, there you go, thank you, Courtney. It lists out, they've been employed as a principal for 3 or more consecutive years. They've been recommended by the superintendent as a candidate for a 2 or 3 year contract because they have demonstrated the ability to stabilize instructional and receive a rating of level 3 or above in the most recent comprehensive performance evaluation of the RCW. And they have met the district's requirements satisfying updated record check under RCW. A 3-year contract with the principal may not be renewed in the final year of the contract. So, yeah. So if it does, you'll want to add on a superintendent contract in this place. Talks about board can not renew the superintendent's contract at sole discretion in accordance with the superintendent's contract. Paraeducators, the superintendent language and the paraeducator language used to be housed somewhere else in another policy. It's just, I think, putting them all into under one. But the main change for this is the addition of the opportunity for principal contracts. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
So, I do have a question. So the standard right now is to have just like continuous contracts where you would have to notify non-renewal at a certain date.
Yep. Yep.
And that's true for everybody. There's not like qualification, like this is introducing those qualifications for the person.
Right, paraeducators are renewed year to year. The building administrators are renewed year to year.
We have no tenure. So there's no situation where people are permanently.
Teachers have a continuing contract. Peers are on 1 year, administrators are on 1 year.
Well, it depends on what we negotiate too, right? So, I mean.
Well,
their personnel
contracts, yeah. So, I mean, there could be, there could be a situation where it might be a non-renewal.
Sure.
But you would have to have just cause for it.
So the benefit of being able to do a termed like 3-year contract, even though it's termed, is that it's more stability than the year-to-year renewal, but also it provides an opportunity to renegotiate also for the people who are in those positions.
Yeah, they don't quote unquote negotiate, but it would provide some stability. And part of the background on this law is a lot of building administrative turnover, especially on the west side. So you have a lot of building administrators that work a year, then either be reassigned to another building or put on leave or something happens. So the AWSP, which is our organization, really wanted some legislation to provide a little bit more stability for building administrators, or at least the opportunity. This is not required. You don't have to do it, but it is an option if the board sort of so chooses to offer contracts. The problem we might get into in the districts that we're talking about now is, well, if you give some of them contracts and you don't give the others contracts. Yeah. Yeah, so that could cause some really rough feelings.
Do we have a plan of how we would use this? Or are we just trying to keep our options open?
We're just trying, I think, to keep our options open. It's an essential policy, so we have to have it, but it doesn't mean you have to act on it. So basically, the state's saying, well, you need to have this policy, but you don't have to follow it.
And do you, I mean, is this something that you think we would want to take advantage of with our principals?
None of the principals have come and asked for a contract. I think they really, if they have a strong feeling, they probably would say, yeah, I'd like one, or, we're interested in that. They haven't yet. They might. I expect you're going to see more legislation this next session as well, because this is an area of two problems. One is, I think, the toughness of the job, and 2 is, I think you're seeing a lot less applicants for building administrative positions. And so I think this is a way to maybe increase someone wanting to become a building administrator by saying, well, at least I'll have I could get a 2-year or I could get a 3-year contract. Downside is if, you know, somebody's going south and they have a 2-year contract, then you're gonna have to pay them.
Unless there's just cause, right?
Yeah, I mean,
That's a hard battle.
that's extremely hard. But not impossible, but. You know, when you have contracts that are, well, that's why superintendents are limited to 3. So.
But unlike a superintendent contract, that you increase it every year to keep the 3-year
You
rolling.
can do 1, yeah.
This is, they've got to go to the end of that 3rd year and then decide.
Right.
They would-
Yeah, that's one small difference between this proposed language. Or this bill language, I should say, in the superintendent's. Good point.
And this just opens the opportunity to offer it, so it hasn't ever been available before, that's why the principals have never asked for it.
Yeah, they've never asked for it, they might ask for it, they might go, hey, that's interesting. I think I don't know any districts that have done it yet, but I think everybody's kind of looking around going,
Who's going to do it first?
who does it first and what are you gonna do, or how does this work? So this is really revolutionary to building administrators. You know, it's hard, typically building administrators, their contracts will, I mean, it's very rare, but it's interesting, but I think everybody's just kind of looking at each other going, who's gonna go first? Or what does it even look like? I don't even know if the principals know what this looks like, so.
Are there any other questions? I'd like to take just a moment to say, we usually during the board meeting will sign all of the vouchers. Each board member has to sign all of them. And I don't know if the 2 new board members have had an opportunity to sign. I just want to make sure they're all signed before we leave tonight. So have they been signed?
No, we haven't passed them around.
That's what I thought. So if you wouldn't mind while we're finishing the rest of the business, let's go ahead and sign where the little tabs are. And just so that you know what you're signing, once a month, each one of us are obligated to go and review every single item in the entire district. So we go into Diane's office, she gives this huge basket of stuff and we go through. And so one of us does that every month, but we all have to sign it, right? I think Erin did it this time. Who did it this time? Amanda, gotcha.
It's in process, but I reviewed everything online.
Okay, good. So yeah, we do try to do it. I usually will kind of take the lunch and go in there, and Diane's usually there, so you can ask questions when you're in person, which is helpful, because sometimes I'm like, how much does the cost?
I almost always make sure Diane's gonna be there when I go.
Yeah, me
So
too.
that if I have questions, and I usually allot to.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's only once every, 5 months or so. So, but just so that you know what you're signing, but we do need to have all board members sign those at each meeting so that we can kind of pay people, right? Keep everything going. So, just, sorry, I wanted to know, because I noticed the folder had been sitting there a while.
Yeah.
Now,
Any other questions?
oh yeah, are there any questions on that? Sorry. Yeah, no worries. And if you have any questions on those, feel free to let Diane know or just ask. And if she. Next, Diane, welcome
Okay,
on the electronic funds transfer.
yeah, actually, this is gonna be really quick. We already do this. The auditor's making us implement this. It's gonna be a requirement for the state auditor, so I just wanna make sure we have it in place, by the end of January when they start our audit. It's probably, everything in this policy we already do. We have a separate account. We're just implementing this. It's encouraged, but, I just want to get it in place because it will be a requirement.
Okay, are there any questions? All right, thank you very much, Diane. Okay, next we will move to informational items. Informational items do not require action or discussion by the board. The items are included in the agenda for the board to review and may be moved to the discussion item section of the board agenda by any board member. Informational items may include board procedure updates and non-substantive policy updates. Are there any informational items that anyone would like to pull off to discuss? Okay, we will move right to the executive or closed session. The board will recess into an executive or closed session by motion, stating how long it will last and if action will be taken. Following the executive or closed session, the board president will convene the regular meeting. I would entertain a motion to into executive or closed session, because I say this every time.
Second.
Excellent. It's been moved and seconded that we recess into a closed session. All those in favor, please say aye. All right, I would say it would be,
I'm gonna try.
we can always ask for more time.
Well, let's shoot for 20 minutes and let's see. I apologize.
Right. No worries. And that's just kind of been the theme of this evening. So we will reconvene at 9:36.
But yeah. 20 minutes, use the restroom and catch you.
I know, it's a long